Hey friends, we are jumping into Luke chapter 12 to 18 this week. I just want to give you a quick preview of what is coming up as you continue through this Bible reading challenge. In Luke chapter 12, we're looking at the faithful or unfaithful servant. And really, Jesus deals with two things there, and us being faithful or not being faithful. It's will we live free of fear? That theme shows up 13 times in the chapter. Will we live free of fear? And the second is, will we live free of consumerism? Or will there be another treasure that will take our heart other than the King? Luke chapter 13 asks the question, what does it really mean to know Jesus? And in this chapter, we get four concrete images, one of fruit, of chains, of leaven, and a door. And each of these images ask us a key question of what it means to follow Jesus. We're asked, what fruit are we bearing? What chains are we loosing? And what chains are we allowing to remain? What leaven are we allowing to spread throughout creation to bring to fulfillment what God desires? And what doors are we entering? Luke chapter 14 could be called Life Lessons at a Dinner Party. And I love this about Jesus because this chapter actually takes place at a banquet. And while he's at a banquet, he starts teaching them about life as a banquet. And so when he talks about this in the chapter, we see four lessons that come out. One, he wants us to see God's heart about choosing people over protocols. Second, he asks the question, where do we sit in the kingdom? That we are people who will choose honor through humility, not thinking of ourselves more important than we think. Third, who do we bring to the banquet? And I love this because this is where he pours in and says, I want you to pursue those that the rest of the world has said are uninvited and disqualified. And then last, he brings us to a decision. He says it's a free banquet, but it costs absolutely everything. I love Luke chapter 14 because it gives a strong charge to what does it really mean to be a disciple of Jesus. Luke chapter 15 could be called Lost and Found. We see four precious things that are lost and they're called out by Jesus. It's a sheep, a coin, and two sons. And we see in this the picture of four profound truths about grace itself to come and find us. That grace is for both sons, that grace doesn't ever quit on us, that grace rejoices in restoration. It doesn't get deterred by messiness. And then lastly, that grace is an amazing gift, but it's a choice. And we're left on a cliffhanger with the older son there at the end of the parable of the prodigal sons of what will we choose to do about grace, about receiving it, and about releasing it. Luke chapter 16 is a master course on stewardship. We see the start of this chapter. Jesus tells a parable about a dishonest manager. And I love it because Jesus commends a dishonest worldly manager, and not for his dishonesty, but for his awareness in how to live in the present moment with an eye on the future and what's to come in a way, he says, that often his children don't see. In this chapter in Luke 16, Jesus says one of the weirdest things that he ever says about money. And it's actually, it's really great. I want you to check out the PDF on that. And I'll walk through that a little bit of what Jesus is actually saying. And one of those moments that make you go, And then finally, he ends the chapter on the rich man and Lazarus. And this is a powerful parable about here and eternity and what God is actually up to. Luke chapter 17. And Luke chapter 18. Those would both be chapters of Jesus with the disciples in the school of discipleship. In Luke 17, he talks about 6 foundational heart postures. And I just want to note this to you. For those of us that follow Jesus, Luke 17 and 18 are like the crash course on what it means. So Luke 17, 6 foundational heart postures. That we're to be people who keep our hearts pure, that we forgive completely and consistently, that we don't actually need more faith, we need to plant the faith that we have and then water it. That we're people that are called to live free of our rights, that we're called to desire the healer more than his healing. And last, that we need to be the people that can discern and hold on to the kingdom because it's already within us. I'll give some notes there about some of the end times conspiracy theories that we have and how do we position ourselves in a better place to walk worthy there. And then Luke chapter 18, living with the disciples in the school of discipleship, part 2. And we see that Jesus speaks through parables, living pictures, and a pronouncement. And he talks about the nature of true faith, true righteousness, true greatness, true riches, the true kingdom, and ultimately that we would be the people of true sight. I am so encouraged and excited as we as a church have been reading together. It just blesses my heart to see that we're growing, and I love hearing your testimonies. I'm grateful that this is ministering to your heart. I want to encourage you, keep going. We are looking right now for progress, not perfection, and this will become a priority that will become the passion of our hearts. Let me pray with us. Jesus, I pray this week as we dive into your word that you would just refresh and renew us. Would you speak to us? I pray that this time in your word would never become an item that we check off a list. I pray for each of us, Lord, that we'd be able to breathe and not make it more complex than it needs to be, but just step into this because, Jesus, we want to know you, and you will always meet us in that prayer. I pray that you would astound us this week. Amen. God bless you, friends. Have a wonderful week in the Gospel of Luke.